Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, I trust you enjoyed my last video from Frankie, Valli and the Four Seasons, and through his song Can't Take My Eye Off You. And we know how amazing Frankie's range actually is. That song talks about, physical attraction, physical intimacy, and how love makes us feel. So such a beautiful song, and it's great to give American music royalty a bit of a go there. Well, I said last time, given the death of Olivia Newton-John, and gee, hasn't the world paused and really acknowledged the fact that she died? In fact, I was so moved by her death too that I actually bought the DVD to Xanadu. You might be thinking, well, there we go. But I'm also an ELO fan, so a double whammy right there. So we're going to look at Olivia Newton-John a little bit next time, but I thought today we'd look at the role that made her household name. And there was this little movie called Grease that premiered on the 16th of June 1978. It was originally a musical in the early 1970s written by Jim Jacobs and Warren Casey. Then Robert Stigwood discovered the story and thought, well, hang on a minute. And of course, Robert was instrumental in Saturday Night Fever, which was released just a year earlier. And thought, hang on a minute, I reckon we've got a bit of a movie here and a bit of a hit. So I'm going to give this a bit of a go. So he got Randall Kleiser to direct, and then it came down to casting. Now, obviously, you need just the right person to play Danny and just the right person to play Sandy. So interestingly, Henry Winkler was originally approached to play Danny, and Henry, of course, played the Fonz in Happy Days. It kind of made sense because Danny and the Fonz are pretty similar in lots of ways. But Henry Winkler didn't want to get typecast in that kind of role, and so he kind of said no. And then Robert said, well, all right, what about John Travolta? I wonder what he's doing. He did such a good job in Saturday Night Fever. Kind of a bit of a similar thing there. And John said, well, yeah, well, let's go for it. And the rest is history. John Travolta made Danny his own character, and his legacy he's left to this world. Because you know about this movie? This movie has a cult following. Everybody knows the songs, right? Then it came to the girl. Now, some names originally approached. Carrie Fisher, and of course she was Princess Leia in Star Wars, and that came out just the previous year, so she was pretty big at this point. Susan Day of the Partridge Family was another one that was pretty big. Of course, the Partridge Family was a massive TV show. And Marie Osmond, of course, of the Osmond Brothers family, and Donnie and Marie had a pretty successful TV show on that point. But no, it was John Travolta that said, hey, I reckon Olivia Newton-John's the perfect girl for this role. Why don't we ask her? And of course she said, and the duo, the inseparable duo, the duo with such beautiful romantic chemistry on screen was born. One of the issues with Olivia Newton-John, though, was, because this was very much an American story, was that she, even though born in the UK, she lived in Australia, and she had very much an Australian accent. So they decided we're going to change Sandy to be an Australian. And that iconic first scene on the beach was shot in Australia and was on an Australian beach when Danny was on holidays. And then there's the big massive reunion back in America at Rydell High. Now, just on that, I'm going to assume that if you want to see Grease, you've seen it. We are talking 1978, and there's been plenty of opportunities to see it since that time. So, there are going to be spoilers here, but I'm trusting that will be okay. So we had Danny and Sandy set. There were a few other important people. One was the role of Rizzo. Now, Lucy Arnaz was one that was approached, but she said no. Ended up being given to Stockard Channing. Now, she was the oldest actress on set, and to be able to play a high school teenager is a pretty amazing thing. Rizzo is kind of one of these characters, the glue that held the whole thing together. Of course, she had a bit of a journey of her own. We then got the Teen Angel, which, it's quite funny how this particular character doesn't get much of a go, but it's kind of important in the scheme of things. Donny Osmond was approached, given Marie was approached, and he said, nah, that's okay. Elvis Presley nearly got this gig, but unfortunately he died just before production started. And so Frankie Avalon was given that gig, and of course Frankie with his just smooth vocals was perfect to provide the guidance when he did. We then got Kinnicky. Now Jeff Conaway played him. Now Jeff was involved in the stage show of Grease, and he did actually play Danny, and actually sung a few of the songs that of course we know so well. In fact, he sang Grease Lightning. There's a little bit of a conspiracy around Grease Lightning, which we'll get onto in a minute. And so he played Danny's offside at Kinnicky. It's a really, really touching scene of the two of them on Thunder Road when they're just having a bit of a moment. Hey, the big race is tomorrow, look after it, and it's all a bit, but it's quite a cute little thing. I didn't realise when I was watching the movie a little while back, and back here in Australia, they put Grease on the day that Olivia Newton-John died, so I thought I'd watch it. And I thought, where do I know this guy from? And I realised he was Zach Allen from Babylon 5, which of course was an iconic five-season series, science fiction series. And of course, Zach was one of the security guards. So it kind of made sense. And so we had Jeff Conaway playing Kinnicky. Now, Grease cost us about $6 million to make, and it made $366.2 million at the box office. Well, that's probably in the initial stages. It's probably made a stack more since then. But a very, very successful movie in the scheme of things. Award-wise, it's won a Golden Screen Award, a number of People's Choice Awards, and it's a part of the National Film Registry. So, it's a significant cultural movie, this one, and it deserves that to be preserved in that way. Well, most of us would know the Grease story, boy meets girl. Now, what I've actually got is I've got a stack of songs below here, guys, okay? So, probably again, and what we've done recently, can I suggest to bring up the YouTube again, and as I go through it, you can click on the songs as we go, because nothing tells the story better than the songs. So, I keep saying Happy Days. I don't know what I'm saying Happy Days for. The Grease was all about 1950s Rydell High and what it meant to be a guy and a dude, a girl and a guy in those days. So having to be cool, the hair being just right, the looks, not being weird, not being strange, not letting on too much, but just... And of course, the whole, teenage, getting into each stuff that was going on. There was no shortage of that in this movie. We got, parking down by parking at the lookout, parking at the drive-in, the whole diner thing. All of that stuff is there, and just how tricky it was to be a teenager in that day and age. So, of course, the whole movie started with on the beach. And there's a bit of a nod to From Here to Eternity, that classic scene from that movie where they're on the beach. Well, there's a bit of a nod here. It was actually done on the same beach as that movie. And here we see Danny and Sandy. We're introduced to the two of them. They're both holidaying in Australia. And then when they get back to Rydell High, we got Danny telling his side of the story, and the guys are only interested, actually, we're interested in the same thing. But it's only Danny and Sandy are saying, hey, no, there might be something a bit more to it than that. And so we all know that classic summer loving song and how cool and fun it is. And so I've got the clip of that one below. Of course, what is also very, very apparent in this movie, apart from having to be cool, is the two actual tribes in this movie. And of course, your badge of honour is your car. Of course, we all know the iconic song Grease Lightning. Now, interestingly, Jeff Conaway was really wanted to sing this one. And he would have done a really, really good job of it. But John Travolta said, no, that song's mine. And so John got to sing it instead. I think it's one of those moments. All credit to Jeff, though, that he kind of gets into the whole thing, and the professional that he is, he just kind of gets into the whole thing. But you know, John Travolta, it kind of works with him. So the dream of this absolute beat up car becoming Grease Lightning. Grease Lightning is more than just a car. It is a dream. It is a hope. It is the thing that's going to shake up the world. Because nothing like driving down the street in your beautiful car, and Grease Lightning certainly does become that. But of course, they've got to get there, and they talk about the engine, the paint job, and the whole thing. We all know the dance move in Grease Lightning. You know, they're standing on the car, they're doing, and the whole arm waving thing that goes on. So we've got Grease Lightning. Well, Danny and Sandy were starting to hang out with each other a bit more. Danny was just a little bit scared though, because he was in a different part of the world than Sandy was. Danny wore the leather jacket and the black shirt and everything, and Sandy was wearing the lettered top, and so we very much had the tough guy and the innocent girl. And so, but you know, they couldn't help but be together. And then at one particular moment, and one of the songs of Grease, and probably of Olivia Newton-John's career, is Hopelessly Devoted to You. My head's saying forget him, but my heart's saying don't let go. And so there's a beautiful song of Olivia Newton-John singing this song all on her own. She's got the whole screen to herself, and she's absolutely captivating as Sandy in this particular song. And very much a statement in the movie that she really wants to go all the way with Danny. She wants to be his girl. And so this is where we sort of see the whole concept of a bit something deeper here, and that is love. So, you know, that's a beautiful song. I haven't been able to verify this, but I reckon that the singing was done live in certain situations in this particular movie, and I think that was a classic case there. Of course, if you're going to give Sandy a song, you've got to give Danny a song to sing about Sandy. And after he gets kind of stood up at the drive-in, he goes, "Oh, come on, give me a break here." And so when Sandy leaves because she's had enough, he gets into the whole Sandy, can't you see I'm really into you, and I really want you. So that's a bit of a heart thing there. I think at that point Danny's realising that, hang on, I need to be different here, and it's starting to creep in until we get to that iconic scene at the end. So we've got Sandy with John Travolta, and then we've got the iconic Thunder Road scene. That's where the two cars are up against each other, and whoever wins gets the other car. And this is when you watch these cars zooming along the drain pipe, they're actually not going that fast here, but you know, when you're only in the spur of the moment, it's really fast. Lots of excitement, lots of everything going on in this particular part of the movie. All sorts of things are going on here. We've got the two tribes facing off against each other, and we've got Sandy starting to make some realizations about changes that she may need to make. Now, stick with me about these changes, because I know that's created some commentary over the years. We'll get to that in a minute. So Thunder Road, and of course, we're wondering, well, what's Sandy gone off and done? And we don't discover until the very end in the carnival scene the length that she goes to get her guy. And you know, what's the line? Tell it to me, stud. With the frizzy hair and the very tight pants, what can we say? Which apparently she could get in for most of her life, so that's pretty cool. The hair, the cigarette, all of it. And of course, the minute Danny sees her, she goes, I got chills, they're multiplying and I'm losing control. Chills, don't you love it? And the way he says chills in this particular song is pretty amazing. I got chills, they're certifying, and I'm losing control. All that, everyone just knows these words so well. And so they do a bit of a dance sequence and a bit of a, you know, we're really into each other now. And of course that iconic song at the end where Grease Lightning actually sails off into the sunset. Now, there has been some commentary around why did she have to change for him. But you know what? They changed for each other. Obviously, it's a bit more obvious that she's changed for him. But you know, at the start, you better shape up, because I need a man and my heart is set on you. The cigarette, she takes the cigarette out of his mouth at that point and chonks it into the ground. says, hey, look, you better shape up to be my guy. And so I think there's something good about the fact, hey, look at the effort I've gone to for you. You're going to have to do it for me now. And so I think there's a beautiful coming together here. Someone was going to have to break character to actually make a point, and it was Sandy that did that. Of course, Olivia, given her beauty on stage and on screen, this is one of the most iconic costumes of all time. You know, all guys around the world wish they'd see their girls wearing this, let's just face it. And it's just one of those iconic outfits that you just always remember. So someone had to make a move, and it was Sandy, that is for sure here. And they find each other, and they find true love at the end. And so I've got the links below to those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clips from the movie. And they've also discovered in 2002 when Grease was released on DVD, John and Olivia came back to do You're the One That I Want, and we got a live version of that one there a little bit later. It's so cool to see that. These guys remain the best of friends all of their lives, and of course John Travolta had to come out with a tribute when Olivia Newton-John died. So we got that one there for a bit of a treat. Well, what can we say about Grease? First of all, it's a movie about being together, doing life together. It's a movie about friendship. It's a movie about finding out who your true self is, staying true to yourself, but having to be flexible when it needs to be. It's a movie about making statements. It's a movie about stamping your mark on the world. It's also a movie about having fun and celebrating life. There's just so much there's so much to this movie. Of course, the word Grease was more than just the stuff people put in their hair. It was actually a whole symbol of what it meant to be cool in the 1950s. Of course, there's one particular scene where we've got American Bandstand comes to Rydell High, and of course one of the great things about Grease was the dancing in it. Pretty amazing dance moves going on right there, and of course Olivia Newton-John, we all know how good John Travolta is at dancing. Olivia Newton-John hadn't acted it much at this point, but she absolutely made the role of Sandy her own, and in that iconic scene, that dance scene where the two of them really getting into it, you know, it's Grease magic right there. So if you haven't seen Grease, do yourself a favour and watch it. If you have seen it, you know exactly where I'm coming from. If you haven't seen it, you'd know the songs though, because everyone just knows the songs. So good on you, Robert Stigwood, for bringing this movie to the screen and bringing this musical to the screen. And good on you for all the guys who gave their absolute best to have one of the most iconic movies of all time. 366 million is a lot of money back in those days, and so this movie did really well. So as I've said, the links to those 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 songs are in the description below, and I've also included my last video from Frankie Valli, because Frankie Valli had a #1 hit with the song Grease, which is the soundtrack for this movie. So there's a bit of a connection with Frankie Valli as well. So if you've come back for another one, as we started our tribute to Olivia Newton-John, or you've come back for another one, thank you very much for everybody. Hey guys, just wanted to say, and I always say the thank yous at the end. Why do I do that? Well, I'm wanting to just get people to hang around, and you know, it's good to acknowledge those that hang around. I'm really enjoying the engagement of late. It's been really good. So I just want to thank you guys for that. It means a lot to me. It really does. So that's it for today. Next time we're going to go on a little bit more with Olivia Newton-John in her own right. And of course, another one of the iconic roles that she had. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.